Tasha Jenkins tightened her ponytail and double-checked the forms for the 5th time. Her husband, Darnell, sat at the kitchen table thumbing through a folder of pay stubs and references, occasionally glancing over at their daughter, Layla, who was coloring a rainbow on the linoleum floor. They were applying for their first rental home in the suburbs. After 7 years of grinding in the city, her in nursing and Darnell in school janitorial services, they'd finally saved enough to leave their tiny 2-bedroom apartment behind. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough for a modest house, a backyard, maybe even a garden. "This is it," Tasha whispered as she clicked submit on the online rental application for a 3-bedroom bungalow on Madison Street. "This is the one." Darnell walked over and kissed her forehead. "We did everything right, babe. Good jobs. Clean records. Decent credit. They can't say no." They waited. The next day passed without a word. Then came the email. "We regret to inform you the property has already been rented." Tasha blinked. She checked the listing. It was still live. "Huh," she murmured. "Maybe it's just slow to update." But something inside her stirred. Something uneasy. Over the next 2 weeks, Tasha and Darnell applied to 5 more homes. Each time, they were rejected. Some listings vanished overnight. Others stayed live, taunting them with manicured lawns and empty porches. Each rejection chipped away at Tasha's optimism. "Do you think it's us?" she asked Darnell one night while folding laundry. He hesitated. "I don't want to believe that, but I'm starting to." "Maybe it's our names," she whispered. "Maybe it's the email addresses. Maybe they saw our Facebook profile pictures." He shook his head. "We're not imagining this. Something's wrong." Still, they pushed forward. They couldn't afford to stay still, not with Layla growing fast and the rent in their current place creeping higher every year. Then, something happened that would shake their world. They met up with Megan for brunch on a Sunday. She was Tasha's best friend from nursing school, white, bubbly, and fiercely loyal. As Tasha explained what was happening, Megan's smile faded. "You gotta be kidding me. I wish I was Tasha's side. It's like we're invisible until they realize we're black." Megan put down her coffee. "Let me try, just as a test." "What do you mean?" Darnell asked. "I'll submit the next application under my name. Same income, same everything, just different face." Tasha hesitated. It felt wrong, deceptive, but desperation had a way of eroding pride. "Fine," she said quietly. "Let's see what happens." They found a new listing that evening. Another 3-bedroom home with a backyard and decent school nearby. Tasha and Darnell had already submitted their application earlier in the week. No word. Megan sent hers in. 2 days later, Megan received a cheerful response. "You're approved. Would you like to tour the property?" Tasha felt her stomach twist. It wasn't just a theory anymore. It was real. Tasha stared at Megan's phone, her chest tightening with every word on the screen. "Approved," she repeated, as if saying it aloud might change the meaning. "You got approved using our exact details, just with your name." Megan sat silently, guilt clouding her expression. "I didn't think it would actually work. I just wanted to prove a point." Tasha blinked away a tear. Darnell paced the living room, fists clenched. "So that's what it takes? A different name, a lighter face." The silence was deafening. Megan opened her mouth, but Darnell held up his hand. "Don't. This isn't about you. You meant well. But this is our reality." Tasha suddenly felt embarrassed, ashamed, not because of what they'd done, but because they'd been forced to do it. She had worked too hard, lived too clean, and loved too fiercely to be treated as invisible. "What do we do now?" she finally asked. Darnell looked up. "We play along." Tasha blinked. "What?" "We go see the house. Under Megan's name. Let's meet them face to face. Let them see what they think they're getting and who they're really rejecting." 2 days later, Megan set the appointment. The owner, a smiling middle-aged woman named Cheryl, greeted her warmly. Her tone was polite, warm, casual. "This is one of our favorite properties," Cheryl said. "Great school district, safe neighbors, and freshly renovated." Megan had insisted that only she go in first, just to confirm the tone of the meeting. Tasha and Darnell waited in the car around the corner, nervous. 5 minutes in, Megan sent a text. "Come in. It's safe." She's still smiling. Tasha and Darnell stepped out of the car and walked up the path together. The moment Cheryl saw them, her smile faltered. Hi, can I help you? Megan spoke quickly. These are my friends. I won't be living here. They're the actual tenants. I just helped facilitate the appointment. Cheryl's face froze. Oh, I see. An awkward silence settled. Her tone turned distant. She glanced at her watch. Well, feel free to look around, but I do have another appointment coming. Tasha walked through the house slowly. Hardwood floors, tall windows, a swing set in the backyard. She imagined Layla laughing out there. She imagined peace. She imagined home. But the walls already felt cold again. Cheryl didn't say much after that. She barely looked them in the eye. As they left, Darnell turned and asked her directly, "Did we do something wrong?" Cheryl hesitated. "I just think this neighborhood might not be the best fit." The words sliced deeper than if she'd screamed. Tasha couldn't sleep that night. Her chest felt like it held 1,000 unshed tears and a fire she couldn't put out. The way Cheryl said, "not the best fit," echoed in her mind like a taunt. She had always known racism was real, but somehow, when it smiled politely and wore pearl earrings, it hurt even more. Darnell lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, his hands clasped over his chest. "I keep thinking about how she looked at us," he said softly. "Like we were intruding. Like we didn't belong." Tasha turned to him. "We did belong. That house. We earned it." Darnell nodded. "Yeah, but they don't care about earnings. They care about comfort. And we make them uncomfortable." That cut deep. Because it was true. No matter how much they dressed it up, coded it, or denied it. The message was clear. We don't want you here. The next morning, Megan texted, "I feel sick about what happened. Want to talk?" But Tasha ignored it. Not out of malice, but exhaustion. She was tired of explaining herself, tired of being grateful for crumbs, tired of holding her head high when the world only saw the top of it. Later that afternoon, Darnell came home with a printout in his hand. "I looked into it," he said. "There are laws against this. Fair housing laws. If we wanted, we could report her." Tasha blinked. "And then what?" "She denies it. Says it was already pending. Says we misunderstood. She won't say she saw our skin and change her mind." Darnell's jaw tightened. "Exactly. But if we don't speak up, we're part of the silence." They sat in the quiet for a long moment, and Tasha realized maybe they couldn't change Cheryl, but they could expose the truth she hid behind her smile. A week later, Tasha and Darnell sat inside a small but brightly lit office at the local Fair Housing Action Center. The woman sitting across from them, Vanessa, was a civil rights investigator with tight coils in her hair, warm brown eyes, and a sharp sense of purpose. "You're not the first," she said after hearing their story. "This kind of thing happens more than people want to admit. But what you have," she pointed to Megan's approval email, "that's evidence." Tasha felt a mixture of validation and fury. "So we're not crazy? Not even close," Vanessa said. "What you experienced is known as name-based discrimination, paired with a face-to-face bias. It's illegal, but it's hard to prove unless someone slips." Darnell pulled out the printouts, the identical applications side by side. "We used the same documents, same jobs, same income." "And Megan?" Vanessa asked. "She's willing to testify," Tasha said. Vanessa smiled, but there was sorrow in her eyes. "You'd be surprised how many white allies don't follow through. But if she does, we can move forward." Tasha clenched her fists. "I'm tired of being quiet." "Then don't be," Vanessa replied. "Let's hold them accountable." They left the office with a new sense of fire. But even as they filed the complaint, they knew they weren't just challenging one landlord. They were challenging the system. 3 weeks later, Cheryl's name was officially listed in an inquiry by the Fair Housing Board. It didn't take long for word to get out, especially in the tight-knit neighborhood community. Tasha's phone lit up one night with a message from a block number. "Maybe you people should learn your place." Darnell received a call at work from an unknown caller who only whispered the word, "troublemaker," and hung up. Fear slithered into their home like a slow leak. But they didn't stop. Vanessa encouraged them to speak to a local newspaper. The journalist, a young black woman named Keisha, wrote a compelling piece titled "Denied Before We Knocked" that detailed their experience. The article quickly spread online, sparking debate and outrage. Some praised them for their bravery. Others accused them of pulling the race card, but the truth was out. Megan stood by them the whole time, even doing an on-camera interview. "All I did was use my name," she said tearfully, "and that alone got me the keys." That's not just wrong, it's racist. Tasha sat on her couch that night, scrolling through comments, hands shaking, not from fear, but from the gravity of what they had set in motion. "This is bigger than us now," she whispered. Darnell nodded. "Let's keep going." It was a rainy Tuesday morning when Tasha received an email with the subject line, "We'd like to offer you the home." Her heart pounded. She clicked it open, hands trembling. The message was from a different real estate agency, one that had read the article and was reaching out in support. They had several listings in similar neighborhoods and wanted to offer her and Darnell a showing. No hidden screening, no games. Tasha burst into tears. Darnell rushed into the room. "What happened? Is it another threat?" She handed him the phone. He read silently, then pulled her into a long, quiet hug. The rain tapped against the windows like applause. Later that week, they toured a beautiful two-story home with big bay windows, a soft green lawn, and a front porch that Tasha instantly imagined stringing with fairy lights. The realtor, a tall black man named Reggie, greeted them with a broad smile. "I read your story," he said, offering his hand. "You two have already done something brave. Let's make sure you also get something you deserve." As they walked through the home, Layla ran through the hallways, her laughter echoing in the empty rooms. Tasha felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not just the quiet kind, but the kind that rises from justice, from truth, from finally being seen. Reggie turned to them before they left. "You're pre-approved. No tricks, no changes. If you want it, it's yours." 2 weeks later, under a sky streaked with gold from the setting sun, Tasha stood on the front porch of their new home holding the keys. Not just any keys, the kind that had once been withheld, weaponized, dangled like bait. And now, they were hers. She closed her eyes and took a breath. The air smelled like freshly cut grass and possibility. Behind her, Darnell was carrying boxes from the car, while Layla skipped up the front steps, her curly hair bouncing as she twirled in excitement. "Mommy, I want the room with the big window." Tasha laughed. "You've said that 5 times already." They had moved in quietly, without fanfare, but the symbolism wasn't lost on her. This wasn't just about square footage. This wasn't just a house. This was a battle won, a deeply personal fight against the quiet racism that had followed them like a shadow. That evening, as the last of the sunlight faded, Tasha and Darnell sat on their front steps watching Layla chase fireflies. "It still doesn't feel real," Darnell said. "After everything, it feels hard-earned," Tasha replied. Just then, a car drove by slowly, the driver staring a little too long. Tasha and Darnell exchanged a glance. "Do you think it'll ever really stop?" he asked. She thought about it. The looks, the doubts, the questions behind every smile. "No," she said softly, "but now we know how to fight, and we're not alone anymore." 1 month into their new life, Tasha was beginning to settle. The house had become a home. Family photos now adorned the walls. Layla's artwork filled the fridge, and laughter had replaced the silence of worry. Then came the knock. It was late afternoon. Tasha had just finished folding laundry when she heard the door. She opened it to find Cheryl, standing stiffly on the porch. For a moment, Tasha's mind didn't process it. "Cheryl? Here?" "I saw the article," Cheryl said, eyes not quite meeting hers. "In the investigation. I wanted to speak to you directly." Tasha's heart began to race. She didn't know if it was anger, shock, or something in between. "I don't think there's anything to talk about," she said calmly. Cheryl shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I've been in this business for 20 years. I've made decisions based on instincts. I never intended to discriminate." Tasha raised an eyebrow. "But you did." Cheryl hesitated. "It was never about race." "Except it was," Tasha replied, voice steady. "When Megan applied with our exact same documents and got approved within an hour, that was about race." There was a long silence. "I'm sorry," Cheryl whispered, her voice cracking. "I can't undo what I did, but I wanted you to hear it from me." Tasha studied her face. For the first time, there was no mask, no script, just a woman confronting the truth. I appreciate you saying that, Tasha said. But it's not just about us. It's about everyone else you said no to, who didn't have a Megan or a newspaper or a lawyer. Cheryl nodded slowly, her shoulders sinking. I'll think about that. I promise. She turned and walked away, leaving behind not closure, but a fragment of accountability. 3 months had passed. The house had truly become theirs. Painted walls, a garden full of lavender and tomatoes, Layla's laughter echoing through every room. But what stayed with Tasha most weren't just the changes inside the house. It was what had shifted inside her. She had gone from silent frustration to public truth, from hoping for approval to demanding dignity. The investigation into Cheryl's company led to formal warnings and mandatory bias training for several real estate agents across the city. It wasn't justice in the deepest sense, but it was a start, a crack in a system built to keep people like Tasha and Darnell out. One Saturday, Vanessa from the Fair Housing Center stopped by for tea. She sat on the porch, eyes scanning the neighborhood. "You've done more than just move in," Vanessa said, sipping her drink. "You force people to look at the mirror they've been avoiding." Tasha smiled. "We just wanted a home, and you helped others find their voice along the way." That night, as the sun melted behind the trees, Tasha tucked Layla into bed. "Why do we have to fight so hard just to live here, Mommy?" the little girl asked. Tasha kissed her forehead gently. "Because sometimes the world forgets we deserve everything it gives so easily to others. But we're reminded, with truth, courage, and love." She stood in the hallway, gazing at the life they'd built, one they had to wrestle away from an unfair system. And in that stillness, she understood something simple and powerful. They hadn't just won a house. They had reclaimed their place in the world. Systemic racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through policies, paperwork, and politeness. Tasha and Darnell's story reveals that fighting injustice requires more than pain. It takes proof, persistence, and people willing to stand up, even when the world tells them to sit down. No one should have to mask their name, borrow a face, or soften their truth just to be treated fairly. To every viewer watching this, the fight for equality isn't only about marches in the streets. It's about the quiet battles in boardrooms, banks, classrooms, and neighborhoods. If you're someone who has faced these barriers, your story matters. Speak it, share it. And if you're someone who hasn't, listen, learn, and leverage your privilege to open doors, not close them. Everyone deserves a home. But more importantly, everyone deserves dignity.